In Lab 2-6, we're going to write a complete program using Python. The previous labs walked you through a few Python tips on how to write modules. Here, we're going to write a program that will calculate tip at 20% and tax at 6% based on the meal price. Now to start, we're going to copy this basic structure and add it into our Python. Now when you create your Python code, make sure you label this lab2-6.py. Now here we have the basic structure set up where main is going to have all of our calls, so we'll have our calls here, and then down here we have all of our different modules. So we will code inside each of these modules to calculate our program. Now remember, here is our call to main, so this causes main up here to execute, and then we go and write our program that way. Now as you walk through the lab, it'll talk about how to write your calls, and then how to calculate your program, and walk you through each of the steps in calculating our values. And then you'll paste the final code in step 16. But we'll start by coding input meal. Now here, we're going to take our meal price and do an input statement like we normally would. And with this module, we're going to do a return statement. So we're returning meal price out of this module. Now in main, when we call that, we're going to call our modules here, making sure that they're tabbed over in order to process properly. So because we're returning meal price, our normal call would look like this as a normal call. But because we're returning it, we have to say meal price is equal to our call. So we come down here, we process this, and then we return meal price out of this function. Now in calculate tip, what we're going to do is we're going to say, okay, our tip is equal to meal price times 0.20 or 20%, and then we're going to return tip out of this program. So in our call, because we're returning tip, it's going to be tip is equal to calc tip, and here we're going to need an argument. In order to calculate tip, we need to pass it meal price. So in our parentheses, we put down meal price, and here we put meal price. Now calc tax is going to be done the same way as calc tip, except you're calculating tax. So you'll do the call here as tax equal to calc tax, pass it meal price. I'll allow you to code that. And then we're going to calculate total. Now total, we're going to return total out of this module, but in order to calculate total, we need all three things. We need meal price, tip, and tax. So our call is going to look like total equals calc total, pass in the same order meal price, tip, and tax. So those three values go down here. We're going to calculate our total and return total out of this function. Now when we print, the four things that we're going to print are meal price, tip, tax, and total, and those will all be done with print statements here. And you'll write your 4. Now because we're not calculating anything, there's no need to have a return statement. So because you're not returning anything, we just simply put up here our call and pass it our variables that we need down below. Now once you're finished with the rest of these modules and coding your output, you can run it and make sure it processes properly. Again, make sure you have a call to main below in order for it to process or run anything in main at all. And then additionally, make sure your tabs are lined up properly. Now be very aware that if you're copying and pasting these values from here, from the document into your Python code, your tabs may not line up properly. So ensure that your tabs are correct in order for it to process properly.